Let's have a sesh on retained profits. So retained profits is when a business uses historical profits from previous years to invest. Remember, retained profits, if you've been around for 3 years and in each year you've made £2 million, your retained profits would be £6 million. So 2 million from each of those 3 years. That's your retained profits, your historical profits. So if you're using retained profits in order to invest, well, that's so likely to be a long-term type of finance. And clearly it's coming from inside your business because it's the profits you made in previous years. So it's certainly going to be an internal finance. And it's usually from established businesses that are going to be able to use it. It's clearly not going to be applicable to a startup business because you wouldn't have any historical profits, any retained profits from the previous years because you're a startup business. Pros and cons of retained profits. Well, number one is that if you use retained profits, there's no financial cost because it's not like with a long-term debt where you have to pay interest because there's no interest that needs to be paid. It's your profits, it's your cash from previous years. And secondly, you're not giving up, like with equity, like with shares, you're not giving up any control in your business because it's your own cash. So it beats the debt angle because of no financial cost, and it beats the equity angle because you're not giving up control in your business. And that's why for number 3, it's seen as a safe, low-risk approach to expanding and investing in your business because you're not giving up any equity and you are not having to pay off any interest on that debt. So maybe it makes sense in recessions. In terms of the cons of retained profits, well, number one, it may create conflict with your shareholders. The reason why it may create conflict with your shareholders is because you are taking out to invest from your retained profits. And retained profits is exactly where dividends come from. And dividends, that slice of the profits that shareholders get, well, if there's less retained profits, it might mean there's less dividends available to shareholders. And that will make shareholders very sad. So using retained profits likely to mean less dividends and sad shareholders. And it might be not they're sad, but they could be very angry, and that could create a conflict. Number 2 is that usually there is a finite amount of retained profits. It's just as many profits as you've made in previous years. So there's a finite amount of retained profits. So usually using retained profits, because they're finite, is seen as a slow way to grow your business, and that you should in fact use beyond retained profits. You should use debt and you should use equity because it will enable you to grow your business quicker. So if you're only using retained profits, well, maybe you need to think about using other sources of finance in order to grow faster. And thirdly, well, again, you're comparing this to debt and equity because if you are using exclusively retained profits to grow your business, well, you might not get any added expertise because in terms of expertise taking the long-term debt route, being loans, well, you don't get that expertise from the bank managers, the financial advisors that come with that. And if you're not taking the equity route, the shareholders route, well, you don't get the potential expertise of those shareholders, of those investors. It could be angel investors, for example. You're not getting their expertise. So retained profits, it's really the best one to use because it's the cheapest in terms of debt and you don't give up that control, but there are some limitations to using retained profits. The biggest limitation of all being there's a limit to the amount of retained profits that you are likely to have. So I hope that helps with retained profits, and I'll see you at the next sesh.